Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you are all doing really well. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. It's time for another Friday flip. And I will always have a link up in the cards as well as in the description box down below to the playlist for these Friday flips, as well as if you look at my channel, you can see other playlists I've created, for example, for travel journals and things like that. So what I'm doing this year with my art journals or my sketchbooks, as opposed to using one bound book, I'm using these DIY traveler notebook style inserts. And if you take a look at the regular size, this is a regular TN, you can see that the inserts I'm using are definitely much wider. And in the first inserts case, much taller as well. Okay. So I have already flipped the first volume and the second volume for 2020, and you can find links to that in that Friday Flip playlist. So today what we will be doing is flipping volume 3. Okay, and as I've said before, the reason I like doing these journals as inserts as opposed to in a bound book is that they get really thick. And working in them tends to be much harder as the journal bulks up or the insert bulks up, and I just don't want to deal with the hump. So this, as usual, has got a wallpaper as the cover, and the pages are all, this is a one signature, classic TN insert style, a bunch of papers folded in half and just stitched to the spine with a simple saddle stitch. As I said, this is 2020 Volume 3, and as in all of my inserts, there's a variety of different papers that I use in here, and I tend to do very similar things. So this one started in September 7th of this year, and these what's the word I'm looking for? Day images that you'll see come from 3 years apart. They have a free printable, and I use those for September. So as always, my journals tend to have some writing, some sketching. I'm kind of enjoying the BoJack Horseman series, kind of interesting. Again, different kinds of writing. I find images that either on Pinterest or in other areas that I find interesting, and I go ahead and sketch them down just to kind of get a sense of how the artist actually captured something. As always, lots of writing. The images are kind of fun. So as you can see in my journals, I tend to not have a very specific form that I use. I tend to just open up to the next page and see what it is that I feel like doing. As always, there's writing, but sometimes I'm playing with shapes as well. Again, another character from the BoJack Horseman series. This is, I think, from Lisa Condon, I think is how you say her last name. I had seen an image of hers that had these Zentangled fish, and I just was kind of playing along with that. Here's another one of those wallpaper scraps that I always have in my journals. Same thing here. These two images, these two pieces of paper are wallpaper scraps. I take images that come in the mail. I sketch people that I'm looking at. On Zoom calls, there's a lot of sketching. At one point, I had all these washi, basically the ends of a roll. Rather than throwing it out, I just kind of created kind of a border using that. Stamping on top of a wallpaper sample. Sketches. This is cardstock as well in here. The day RBG died, that was a sad one, so the kind of capturing that. There's, currently here's a list of things that I'm involved with. Keeping track of, sometimes I happen to just reach for a piece of paper. For example, in this case, I wanted to keep track of what's the Booker Prize long list and short list. This will eventually get transferred into my Evernote, but I happen to have my journal insert in front of me, so that's where I captured it. As always, you can see a link down to my Goodreads down below as well. Playing with sketching from the Botanical Line Drawings book by Peggy Dean. Just it was kind of fun. It's a fun way to just get your brain to be quiet and just try and capture very detailed fine art, fine line art. I really like this quote. Never trust your fears. They don't know your strength, by Athena Singh. Again, sketching from life. These are, I don't eat eggs anymore, but these egg, boiled or soft-boiled egg, hard-boiled eggs holders are kind of fun to kind of sketch. As usual, these images come from that Victorian fashion book that I picked up a while ago from my library book sale. It's fall, so sketching fall colors. I had put this down, kind of this image on top of a bunch of collaged paper, and I had planned on actually adding color to the background. But in the end, I kind of liked how that looked, and I'm just leaving it like that. Same thing here. I was going to put a quote, but I just wanted to capture that particular image and save that bit of scrapbook paper. I kind of like how that looked, so just left it there. Taking images that have been on my scrapboard and just using them up in my journals. Again, piece of wallpaper sample. Sketching people with masks. I realize that even though we've been all wearing masks since March, I haven't really done a lot of sketching with people with masks, so kind of doing a little bit of that. Again, an image that comes from that Victorian fashion sample. Same thing here. I just really like that, the idea of putting on your mask. The other side of that wallpaper sample, I just really love the shells and decided to leave it blank. I always take notes, capturing, going for a walk. It's one of my favorite times of year to actually go outside for a walk, and just all the leaves falling was just gorgeous. So kind of keeping track of 20 reasons we love October. Sketches. This image comes from some flyer. I just folded it in half and use it as a border. Yes, if you haven't already, when this goes up, I believe there's still time, please vote. Stamping on top of wallpaper scraps. I'm always reading, and when I'm reading graphic novels, I tend to sketch from those graphic novels, and this is from a manga series called Spy X Family, which is hilarious. And again, always links to my Goodreads down below. I had thought about coloring or painting in these images, but again, it comes to a point where I sometimes feel like that's done and I'm ready to move on. As always, there's tip-ins for postcards or other kinds of things I get in the mail. This image comes from a paper napkin, right? And I think there was some other text there, but I kind of like the idea of capturing that very cocky-looking bird. This image is one I've had in my stash, in my supplies for years, and I just have never used it for anything. And I thought, okay, it's going to get lost. It's perfect to just stick it down on a page. Yeah, I probably could do more on that page, but I'm calling it done and moving on. I just love this wallpaper. So again, when I find paper that I really love, I just leave it blank, just so it's a way for me to have that in my journals as opposed to just in piles in a drawer somewhere. Again, leaving that blank, sketching people that I'm taking a look at. I see people on Instagram that capture my attention, and I go ahead and do quick sketches. There's always notes. Another one of those images, I believe this is Winslow Homer, if I'm not mistaken. It has been on my corkboard for years, and I thought, why not just put it in there. Again, a comic book, Basket Full of Heads by Joe Hill, doing sketches from that one. I just love this postcard that came in from a friend of mine, of Margaret Atwood, an author I really love. Sweater weather is my favorite time of year, so that's kind of capturing, memorializing that. And this is basically what I did last night. So here's basically this journal. It's complete. It's done. As I've said before, they start out looking pretty flat, and in my last week's video I showed you this particular insert that I'll be using, which is volume 4. So that's what I'm going to be doing next. So far, here are the 3 inserts that I have used in my sketchbook / art journaling series. Of course, I have other journals that I'm always using, and I think at one point someone had asked me to show or do an updated video on all the journals I'm using this year, and I'll do that probably later this month. But that's what I have for you today. This is the volume 3 of my 2020 inserts. I will be starting on volume 4 next week, actually, today. So stay tuned for another flip for next week. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know down below. As always, please leave links to work that you have that I can go take a look at, whether it's on YouTube or in a blog. I always love to see how you're creating as well. Stay well. Talk to you soon. Bye.